Hi guys, this is the Blacklight here and we're back with another mod review. This time we're doing the Oldie Sidearm pack. Now I know it's a bit of a new one. It's been out in the workshop for I reckon about a month now, and I decided since it's getting up there, it's getting quite popular, we'll decide to do a review of it. So here it is. So we're going to be reviewing all 15 of the guns. And then, also at the end, we've got a very special custom attachment here that I'll go to last. And so, all the IDs are written here, all of them, so I'm not going to bother saying them. But, once I've gone over all these, I'll pick my favourites, and then we shall go and kill some zombies over there. If you're wondering what the map we're using is, it's currently Greenport Island. However, that may be changing as I'm going to be building a new mod review layout. So stay tuned for more if you want to see that. But first up, we have just a bit of a simple one. So this is the Chief. It's got two versions, as you can see here. There's the nickel one, which is this one, and then the black one. It doesn't affect anything, it's just that there's two different colours. So I'm going to be using the nickel one because I like that one more. This is a very, very small gun. It only takes up 2 space in the inventory, which is really nice because it's compact. It's perfect for a secondary, and just extra style points. Whenever you press F and examine it, it does a little flip. It's a 5-shot pistol, and it can be found at police, civilian, and gun shop locations. So it can be found wherever it is in there, which is really cool. The next one we have is the Contender, which is, once again, a normal pistol. This time it has 8 shots, and it can be found at farms and gun shops. The cool thing I like about this one is it has a little bit of art on the side of the, as you can see, it's got a leopard or a jaguar standing on top of a rock, which is really cool. The scope's just really nice. It looks like it's just a modded scope. And it comes with just the modded ammo for 8 rounds. So for a rare thing, it's pretty good. And it's also got a really high damage, which is quite nice. And the next one we have is the Wringer, which is incredibly small. This only takes up 1 spot in the inventory. It has 2 rounds in the magazine, which is really, really small. But I guess the trade-off for having it, it's got a decent damage. It's not one of the things that would be used regularly, but I guess it's just a good thing when you're starting off the game. It can be really commonly found at civilian locations all over the map. The cool thing about it is when you examine, it's so small it fits on the palm of your hand, which is really nice. But then, yeah, the reload mechanism is really nice, so I'll show that to you. It's very, very loud shot, which is a bit, oh no, it's not really good for stealth purposes, but it's really nice anyway. The next gun we have is the POH Luger, which is a military pistol, so it can be found at any of the military locations. It's a bit of a different one, because it has 2 options. So you can either have the standard 8-clip mag, or you can go for the larger 32 round drum. Now this is probably going to be one of the most used ones in the mod pack, as not only does it look pretty cool, it's just inspired off one of the guns in real life, but it's very loud, but you don't have to reload between each shot. But the 32 round mag will make it a really, really, really nice choice for most people. The next gun we have is the M1 911, which is pretty much the standard type of pistol. It has an 8 round capacity, and it can be found at any military locations. However, much like the Luger, it also supports a 20 round mag. Now, this is probably going to be one of the favourites. Once again, it sounds a lot like the Luger. Most of the sounds for these normal pistols sound pretty much the same, but the problem is it's got a lot of recoil, which will be a little bit painful. But the reload mechanism is nice and quick, which is easy and really, really useful. And also, just a quick disclaimer, all of these guns have been shot with the very lowest skill. I have currently no skills in sharpshooter, dexterity, so the reloading is at the very slowest it can be, and the scope sway is nothing. So all of these, the recoil will only get better from what you see. So if it looks really, really drastic, it will get better if you put some skills into them, which is good. Now, the next gun is the Magnum, which happens to be I reckon my favourite in terms of the normal pistol. It's an epic gun, which can be found in military locations. It's very hard to find, however. But it has 6 shots, and that's all it can have. But the damage is incredible. This will be one of the ones that I'll test out. It's really, really quite interesting. However, very loud, which isn't really ideal. The next gun is an Obres, which is once again a epic gun. This now is going to the bit of the shotgun side of things. It can be found in ranger locations all over the map, and this is a really cool mechanic, I believe. It only has 5 shots, but it supports the vanilla Schofield mags instead of having a modded one of its own. But it's really quite high damage, but it's a bit of a trade-off because the recoil it's very, very large, and you have to reload between shots, which isn't ideal, but still pretty nice in terms of shotguns. The next gun is the Makarov, which is an 8-shot pistol that can only be found in ranger places. The damage is really high on this one, but the good thing is there's very low recoil for this pistol compared to most things, and you can fire quite quickly, which is really, really nice because it makes it good for if you're in a tight position and you only have time to get at the secondary. It's perfect for that. Now, the next gun, and I reckon one of my favourites, is the Winchester. Now, this is a shotgun that can be found in police locations, RMCP locations in Russia, and gun shops as well. And it supports the normal vanilla 12 gauge shells, which is really nice. Now, this is kind of for the, the Terminator side of people, because between shots, the person flips, which is really quite cool. It's got high damage, which is pretty much customary for a shotgun, but the time between shots is a bit painful, so it won't be ideal for most things. However, the availability of 12 gauge shells is really quite nice. And just look at this. I don't know. I reckon that's a really cool mechanic that's pretty nice. The next gun is the double barrel, which is a bit of an interesting one, as it can only be found in range of places. It's very, very small, so it only takes up 4 slots, but it's just a generally small gun. It's pretty much the Winchester, but just sawed off at the end, which is really cool. As you can see, it's quite small, but it supports the only two rounds though, which isn't amazing. I wouldn't personally use it, as I find it has too little ammo, but it's got quite nice damage, and it supports the vanilla 20 gauge shells, which is quite cool, but just generally not my favourite. However, I wouldn't recommend it, but I can see it being used. Now, for this next gun, we're moving off the shotgun category, and we're now going to the machine pistol. This is the Mauser, and can be found in range locations and gun shops. It is a 20-shot pistol, which seems really, really nice. But however, if you look at this, it's got a lot of recoil. I had to drag my mouse down to do it. So just again, as a bit of an side-by-side comparison, you can see this. This is when I'm not altering it or anything. I'm just clicking left click and just letting my mouse go. So you can see it's the recoil is very, very significant. However, the quick fire rate is amazing and will be one of the reasons it'll be used. However, it might be knocked off by this next gun. Now, this next gun is the Scorpion, which is probably my all-time favourite pistol in games. It's once again a machine pistol. It's been featured in games such as Far Cry 4 and Call of Duty. It's I really like the front rail design. It's quite nice. It's just generally a very clean gun. It supports the 20 normal clips, but you can also have a 75 round drum, which is ridiculous as it's only in the secondary range and it's only a 2x2 slot, which is really quite nice. I reckon this is probably my favourite pistol out of all of the guns in this mod. Now, next, the recoil isn't amazing, so I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to hold left click and you can see what happens. Once again, a really fast fire, probably a little bit faster than the Mauser, I would believe. And it's got a lot higher damage as well, which is quite nice. And once you've added the 75 drum mag, it'll just make it a really, really nice pistol to have. Now, this next gun is the Ingram, which is once again a machine pistol that can only be found in military locations, much the same as the Scorpion. It has a 32 round clip and is inspired heavily off the CSGO Mach 10. It just generally the general feel of it, and I think the ammo is the same as well. But the problem is incredibly fast fire rate, much faster than the Scorpion and the Mauser as well. However, the recoil isn't amazing, but I guess it's a bit of a trade-off when you come from the high ammo things. Now, the nice thing about this gun as well is it also can be used on semi, and since it has a really high damage per bullet, it's accurate if you use it sparingly, and the high ammo is really quite nice. Now, to top it off, the last gun on this modded list is the Thumper. Now, much like the Scorpion, this also is featured in Far Cry 4, and it's, well, there's no way to say it, it's a grenade launcher. It's incredibly high damage. This would be one of the things that would be found for raiding bases and that type of thing. The good thing is it's much cheaper to get this kind of thing than the rocket launchers or grizzly rounds. It's one grenade, it takes one grenade per round, and a single grenade requires one raw explosive, one can, and one tape, which is quite cheap in terms of things. This can be found in military locations, and it hasn't got amazing range. I'll grab a couple more rounds so you can see this, but the range isn't amazing. Now, the funniest thing is, once you shoot, you hear a little pop, pop before it actually shoots. So it's got a little bit of a delay between shots, but the damage is quite ridiculous. I wouldn't recommend using this for zombies. This would be one of the more multiplayer kind of things. But if you're looking for AoE damage, it would be one of the things I go to. However, I wouldn't recommend making the things. I just find it, because it's quite hard to find, and the grenades can be found in the map by themselves, but are quite hard to find as well. But it's pretty cool. It's one of my favorites, but I wouldn't use it in terms of PvP. It's more base rating and AoE. Now, the last thing of the day before we go on to shooting zombies is the custom attachment. Now, this is the Oldie pistol suppressor. This only works with modded items on this one, and only a couple of modded things. So you can't put it on your Maple Strike, you can't put it on your Viper. It doesn't work. It only supports the modded guns. See, the guns that can support is the Contender, the P08 Luger, the M1911, the Mauser, the Scorpion, the Ingram, and the Makarov. See, that makes it not amazing, but then once again, if you look at this, so it's an epic attachment, and however, the good thing about this is I've already got a couple of pre-fitted guns that I'm going to choose. This is the Scorpion. See, normally it's incredibly loud, but if you look at this, it reduces the recoil of the Scorpion, which is normally very, very large, and makes it so much more quieter, which is quite nice. It's one of these things, it's a bit like the military suppressor in vanilla, but I reckon I would use this with the modded guns much more than I would use a normal suppressor. See, it's not quite as good for the normal guns, which is just semi, but for the automatic guns, it's just amazing to have. The sound is a bit unusual, but I guess it's really quiet compared to some of the other silencers that are out there. But the best thing is the durability on this silencer. Now, prepare yourselves. This is rather crazy. Have a look at this. So this whole time, it took a whole thing and it only lost roughly 30%, which for a military suppressor, it would have almost run out by now because they just run out so quickly. The good thing about it is to repair, it uses metal scraps in the blowtorch like just anything else, which is really quite nice. So overall, this suppressor is really, really good pick. However, the downside to it is it can only go on some of the modded guns, which is a bit painful. Now, all these guns can be found in vanilla maps such as Washington, Yukon, PEI, and Russia. These, unless they've been put into the mod pack separately with a modded map, they will not be found. The good thing about them is generally, up until probably the machine pistols, they're very easy to find and can be found quite common around the map, which is quite nice. The silencer is good, but it can only be used on certain modern guns, which is quite a downside. However, it makes guns much quieter and reduces the recoil by a fair bit. My top picks for anyone looking to use this in PvP would be the Winchester for its incredibly high damage, the Scorpion for the high fire rate, high damage, and you can also support large drums, and maybe occasionally the Magnum as a quick sidearm to use. However, I would give a shout out to the Thumper for AoE damage and incredibly useful for base rating as just a regular grenade launcher. Overall, most of these guns have been inspired for things from real life and are really quite accurate in terms. I was quite surprised because I thought some of the things would be a bit different, but the M1911, if you search that up, it looks pretty much exactly the same as a normal one in real life would, which is quite good. So, now without further ado, I'm going to take some of the guns out and go and shoot some zombies. Okay, now the first gun we've got is the Wringer. So we're going to see if we can one-shot. So no one-shot, but it can two-shot zombies, which is quite nice. Which is, you know, it's quite good for the only two-shot capacity. So the next one we have is the Chief. So this gun, it's the 4-clip, semi-auto. So it has fairly high damage, but just not amazing. Now the next gun we have is the Scorpion, which is a bit more interesting as it has incredibly high damage. Now I'm going to put it on semi, so it takes 1, 2, 3 shots to kill a military zombie, which is quite cool. So I'll try and go into this whole crowd of zombies here and see if I can survive. Now, considering how many there are, it's crazy. So, as you can see, just incredible damage. However, I do believe I'm out of ammo. See, now the next gun that we'll be using is the Contender, which is a quite nice one. This is one of my favourite pistols. I wouldn't use it a lot, but it's, look at this. It's very noisy, which isn't nice, and you have to reload between shooting, which is not, it's not one of my favourite ones, but it's got quite high damage, because if it can two-shot zombies, it's not too bad. And it's quite easy to find in the map, which is really nice. See, now we're going into a little bit of trouble because I kind of forgot how many zombies were here. So, now we're going into the Winchester with the 12 gauge shells, and you look at this. It has unbelievable damage. So, it can one-shot any zombie, which is just crazy, and between the reload speed, it's not amazing. It's quite good for a shotgun, however, but it's, yeah, there's lots of things. So now we're going to be going to the Thumper, just this. Whoa. Okay. That happened. Fudge. Hi guys, please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. This was the Oldie Sidearm pack mod review. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. But for now, it's the end. Bye bye.